Hi everyone, you want to listen to El Boogie? Um, hey, this is I guess it's gonna be a nighttime, my first nighttime version. Um, Going live. Up kind of late, so I decided to try my hand at going live during this time. What I want to cover in this episode of Listen to El Boogie is President Donald Trump. He's taking the District of Columbia over. For his reasons, crime and homelessness being so high. So, to give you a little more accurate information about what's really happening, says Trump says he's placing Washington police under federal control and activating the National Guard. Okay. So President Trump said Monday he's taking over Washington's police department and activating 800 members of the National Guard in hopes of reducing crime, even as city officials stressed crime is already falling in the nation's capital. The president, flanked by his attorney general, his defense secretary, and FBI director, said he was declaring a public safety emergency and his administration would be removing homeless encampments. All right. For Trump, the effort taking over public safety in Washington, D.C. reflects an escalation of his aggressive approach to law enforcement. The District of Columbia's status as a congressional established federal district gives him a unique opportunity to push his tough on crime agenda, though he has not proposed solutions to the root cause of homelessness and or crime. So that's what's up. Attorney General Pam Bondi will assume responsibility for Washington's Metropolitan Police Department. Trump said he has also rallied against potholes and graffiti in the city and called them embarrassing. The president did not provide a time for the control of the police department, but he's limited to 30 days under statute unless he gets approval from Congress. So there's that. In 2017, Minister Farrakhan gave a speech trying to alert Black people that they should keep their kids out of the street. So what's going on in Washington, D.C.? You have crime is high, carjackings, robberies, break-ins, and the majority of those perpetrators committing these crimes are teenagers like 14 years old. It's crazy. But Minister Farrakhan tried to warn our people in 2017 that this would eventually happen if we didn't keep our kids out of the street. And they are our kids. You know, I don't have any young children. My son is 26. But at the same time, they are our children. But then at the same time, we have to start taking responsibility for the welfare of, you know, there's a what is it called? Smoke detector battery decides to go out when I decide to go live. So if you hear that, I realize that is the case, and I will be taking care of that as soon as this live is over. But just bear with me anyway while we're on the live. As early as 2007, he's giving speeches. I've listened to Minister Farrakhan probably since I was in my 20s, and he always pulled Black people coattail to let us know what the future may hold, you know, according to how we behave as a people and what may transpire if we don't make changes. So now all of a sudden that this has happened, people are up in arms. They're making all kinds of excuses instead of basically taking accountability. Granted, there are restraints such as institutional racism and stuff like that. But at the same time, when I was growing up, I'm 60 years old. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Our parents didn't let us be out all times of the night. And in the summertime, we had to be in when the street light was on. And if we weren't, when that light started flickering, you better be diving for the porch. Because after that, dark 30, as my pops called it, has caught your behind. So we went away from our ways. And if we had somebody fortunate enough to have somebody like Minister Farrakhan to pull our coattail and tell us that this type of thing would eventually happen, it seemed like we would listen, but we have not listened because Black people, we as a people, are hard-headed, indifferent. And for the last 60 years, had gone along with the Democrat Party and their far left-moving agenda, and we went away from our ways, disciplining our children and whatnot. It could be said that laws were enacted to prevent us from, for them, taking discipline out of school and making it hard for parents to discipline their children. But at the same time, collectively, we could have stood against it and said, look, this country is already not kind to our people. And we're doing our children a disservice by not making sure that they are disciplined. And now it's a sad state of affairs because we have gone at least 2 generations without discipline. Before we grew up, if there was a grown-up, if a grown-up told you something, you didn't have to know them from a can of paint. If an elder or grown-up told you something and it was right, then you will listen and give them respect. Nowadays, we're brand new. You can't tell my child. Child could be burnt down half the classroom, and the parents will still go there and take up for them. So we moved away from our ways, and this is because today's kids' parents, they didn't get any discipline. They didn't get that act right. We went away from that, and it even says in the Bible, spare the rod, spoil the child. There is a difference between discipline and child abuse. There's a difference. And our parents disciplined us because they loved us, and they knew once we were out into the world was not going to be kind to us, and haven't. And you had to be able to navigate in a way that it would prevent you from going to jail or possibly losing your life and your freedom. So, it's sad. So I was wondering, well, how bad is crime in D.C.? So let's see how bad it is crime in D.C. I want to take a look at that.